Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To carry on with the upper limb lectures, I'm going to cover in this presentation the anatomy of the muscles of the back of the forearm. I'm Dr. Dalia Saleh, Professor and Head of Anatomy Department at Mansoura University, Egypt. In this presentation, I will cover the muscles of the back of the forearm, and we should know that they are arranged into two groups: a superficial group which consists of 7 muscles and a deep group which consists of 5 muscles. Let's start first with the superficial group. 1 short muscle confined only at the elbow region. 3 muscles lie on the lateral side of the forearm and their tendons reach the wrist. Another 3 muscles lie at the back of the forearm and also their tendons reach the wrist. The anconeus muscle takes origin from the back of the lateral epicondyle of the humerus and its insertion into the lateral surface of the olecranon process of the ulna, and also at the upper fourth of the posterior surface of the ulna. So this muscle is short and is confined only at the elbow region. Its nerve supply from the radial nerve, and it helps in elbow extension. Then we have 3 muscles that lie on the lateral side of the forearm. They take origin from the humerus and their tendons reach down to the wrist. They include the prequirigialis muscle, the extensor carbidialis longus, and the extensor carbidialis brevis. This is the prequirigialis. This is the extensor carbidialis longus and the extensor carbidialis brevis. The prequirigialis originates from the upper 2/3 of the lateral supracondylar ridge of the humerus and also from the lateral intermuscular septum. It goes downward on the lateral side of the forearm and inserts at the lateral side of the radius above the styloid process. It is innervated by the radian nerve. When it contracts, it brings the forearm in the mid-bone position, as in the thumb up position. Also, it helps in elbow flexion, especially when the forearm is in the mid-bone position. The extensor carbidialis longus takes origin from the lower third of the lateral supracondylar ridge and also from the lateral intermuscular septum, and inserts at the dorsal surface of the base of the second metacarpal bone, while the extensor carbidialis brevis takes origin from the common extensor origin or common extensor tendon at the front of the lateral epicondyle of the humerus and inserts at the dorsal surface of the base of the third metacarpal bone. These 2 muscles take nerve supply as follows: the extensor carbidialis longus from the radial nerve, while the extensor carbidialis brevis from the posterior interosseous nerve, which is a branch of the radial nerve. Each muscle extends and abducts the wrist. This is called abduction of the wrist or radial deviation. Then we have 3 muscles that lie at the back of the forearm. They originate from the common extensor origin of the lateral epicondyle of the humerus, and their tendons reach downward to the wrist and fingers. They include the extensor digitorum, the extensor digiti minimi, and the extensor carpi ulnaris. These 3 muscles, as I mentioned, take origin from the common extensor tendon from the front of the lateral epicondyle of the humerus, and their insertion differ. So the extensor digitorum inserts at the middle and distal phalanges of the fingers, while the extensor digiti minimi to the middle and distal phalanges of the little finger, and the extensor carpi ulnaris to the base of the fifth metacarpal bone. So you can figure out their insertion from their name. They take their nerve supply from the posterior interosseous nerve. So basically all the muscles that take origin from the common extensor tendon innervated by the posterior interosseous nerve, which is a branch of the radial. And according to their name, the extensor digitorum and the extensor digiti minimi extend all joints of the fingers, while the extensor carpi ulnaris extends and adducts the wrist. We call it ulnar deviation. For the D group of muscles, they are formed of one short muscle that is confined only to the forearm and does not reach the wrist, three muscles that will insert at the thumb, and we can see their tendons emerging between the lateral group of muscles and the posterior group of muscles of the superficial group, and one deep muscle that is related to the index finger. The supinator muscle takes origin from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus as well as the supinator crest and fossa of the ulna. It wraps around the radius and inserts at the upper third of the radius between the two oblique lines, the anterior and posterior oblique lines. It is innervated by the posterior interosseous nerve and it supinates the forearm. The three muscles to the thumb, here we can see the posterior surface of both the radius and the ulna and the interosseous membrane between them. The first muscle is called the abductor pollicis longus. It takes origin from both the posterior surfaces of the radius and ulna and the interosseous membrane between them. The extensor pollicis brevis takes origin from the posterior surface of the radius below the origin of the abductor pollicis longus and also from the interosseous membrane, while the extensor pollicis longus takes origin from the posterior surface of the ulna just below the origin of the abductor pollicis longus and also from the interosseous membrane. Their tendons go downward to the thumb and inserts as follows. The abductor pollicis longus into the base of the first metacarpal bone. The extensor pollicis brevis into the base of the proximal phalanx of the thumb, while the extensor pollicis longus into the base of the distal phalanx of the thumb. They all are innervated by the posterior interosseous nerve, and their action, as their name tells. So, the abductor pollicis longus will help in abduction of the thumb, and in abduction, you just make the thumb in a right angle with the rest of the fingers, while the extensor pollicis longus and brevis extend the thumb. And the extension of the thumb means that you move the thumb away from the fingers but in the same plane. Then we have the extensor indices. It takes origin from the posterior surface of the ulna below the origin of the extensor pollicis longus and also from the interosseous membrane. It moves downward and inserts at the dorsum of the base of the distal phalanx of the index below the insertion of the extensor digitorum. It takes its nerve supply from the posterior interosseous nerve and it extends all the joints of the index finger. In summary, all the muscles of the back of the forearm are supplied by the radial nerve, either itself or it's a deeper branch, which is the posterior interosseous nerve. So the muscles arising from the humerus take their nerve supply directly from the radial nerve trunk, while the muscles from the common extensor tendon or those arise from the back of the radius or ulna, take their nerve supply from the posterior interosseous nerve. We can predict the insertion and the action of these muscles according to their name. This will be the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening. If you like it, please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. And do not forget to hit the notification bell so you can know if I upload another video. Please feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video. Thank you.